All right, there are folks here. I'll get started. Uh, and if the folks in my Discord want to see what's going on, it's all at twitch.tv/babycastles if you want to like read what chat has to say and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, welcome to my workshop. Calling it being the game master, how to run compelling tabletop RPGs. Um, so sort of my like idea for this whole thing is like I wanted to well, we'll get there. So my name's Hyacinth. I am a game designer, storyteller. I don't know. I make scary games and scary music generally. That's kind of like my vibe. Um, and I've been GMing tabletop games for like probably like 15 years or something like that. Have a fair bit of experience in a bunch of different systems. Started in like Call of Cthulhu and then did a bunch of the whatever the like Dark Heresy, that whole cycle of the Warhammer 40k tabletop games were, and then like Apocalypse World, Blades in the Dark, things that are analogous to sort of like more modern tabletop design. Um, Today, like the way that I'm kind of thinking about this workshop is that I built it kind of like with a system agnostic eye towards like what are the things that you could kind of take from game to game to be able to apply sort of like wherever you um, in whatever game you want to play. So like I obviously first, or not first, but like a big thing is like how to prepare a game. And I'll show you kind of like some of my methods for doing that. There's so many ways to go about prepping stuff and like so many ways that prep material can
I
look.
really truly just shoved so much of this fucking chicken patty into my face, but now I've
Hello.
eaten food. Hello,
We're
everyone.
live on Twitch, by the way.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
My bad.
um,
Hello.
yeah, so I said this before, but like I'm gonna have some friends on a Discord call with me who I'm basically gonna run through a demo game with, which is gonna get weird, I think. Yeah, that's Phoenix.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. How to like do the like moment to moment running of a game, and like manage both the sort of like long view of what you want to get done in a session and like the like okay, you just rolled some dice and the results are weird, how do you deal with that, and some like general tips for like thinking on your feet when things go off script, which they literally always do, and like probably most importantly like just things to think about when it comes to helping players be safe and happy at the table, right? So what as game masters, like what are our roles? There are just a few like there when you're running a tabletop game, you can be in a bunch of different roles, kind of like all at once. But like you're kind of at first a guide and facilitator, right? You are the person who probably knows the game the best, and so anyone who doesn't know the game as well as you do, it's your job to kind of like bring them up to speed, or if you don't know like an answer to a question or something like that, be able to look it up or intuit sort of like what makes sense in the situation, right? You're a storyteller. You're not the only storyteller. I should like preface that with, because like when we're playing tabletop RPGs, we kind of all are telling a story together, right? And so like you might have in some ways sometimes a bit more ownership over like where the story might go, but like that can fall apart at any time. And like one of the things that is worth internalizing is like that's fine, you know. Things can go to hell, and you like one of the skills that you should, you know, kind of try to hone is being able to deal with that. And yeah, Cicada in chat says, how to GM, you write a script for a session and then don't follow it at all. And like at the end of the day, like when it comes to games that require GMs, you're kind of the engine that makes the game work, right? So like as opposed to something like a video game in which like all the rules and mechanics and stuff like that are dealt with by the computer, you are doing that, right? Before we get into like the kind of nitty gritty of like how to prepare a session and how to think about running a game and stuff like that, and before like we run our little demo game, there's like an important thing that I kind of want to talk about just regarding like when we're GMing, like we're dealing with people, right? And so like as a result, there's kind of like a lot of metatextual stuff that can come up, and like it's just worth thinking about, right? Like, you know, I've been in games where like I've had people who have not liked each other very much, and like, you know, that kind of, I'm not gonna like get deep into that sort of stuff, but it's just like one of those things where it's like yeah, we could talk about how to run a game, but we also, it's worth talking about like how like that it kind of doesn't exactly fall to us as the facilitator or GM, but like is within our purview to like kind of deal with those kinds of things when they come up, especially things like player safety, right? So like there are lots of mechanics in games like these days, especially that are specifically designed to help, you know, navigate things that might be tricky to deal with in RPGs, and that's like generally like, you know, talking about what you do or don't want to see like in story during a given session, or like giving players a way of like getting out of that if things like that do come up. There's like a pretty common mechanic called the X card, which is like, you know, if something comes up that you don't want to deal with, say so basically, and then that will just like be either veiled or moved on from, right? And like, you know, dealing with kind of interpersonal dynamics at the table, like I said, people who don't like each other, people who are like, there's weird stuff going on outside of the game in question. If two players' characters come into conflict, like making sure that doesn't bleed into their actual players being in conflict, right? Like all that kind of stuff is worth thinking about and knowing about, right? And just like knowing your players ahead of time helps a lot with that. Like most of you, I would guess, are going into situations where you're going to be running games for people who you know, right? But like there are times in which like, you know, you might not, and that is puts you at a bit of a disadvantage, I think, sometimes, especially when it comes to like, you know, even in-game stuff, right? Like how do these people like to play games, or, you know, what are their tells for if they're enjoying something, etc. And like, yeah, this is like kind of a less serious thing, but like, you know, I've definitely run games where people who are like, I'm just not feeling it today, and, you know, figuring out how to deal with that. Like, yeah, you could sit out and listen, or just we could not play this week, or whatever. And dealing with like player expectations, I think is also kind of important. Like, you know, if we're running a hard sci-fi game, or if, you know, like that's kind of the pitch, and somebody wants to bring dragons into it or whatever, you know, it's like, for me, when I run games, I'm usually like, yeah, let's go, or whatever. But there are some times where, like, you know, I'm running this game right now where I'm pretty firm on like magic doesn't exist in this world, but I do make magical stuff happen, because I like that tension between like, oh, that's something kind of messed up. Why is that happening? You know, so, you know, managing those kinds of expectations are can be important for like everyone to have a good time. But like just a few more general big picture things before again we get into like the nitty gritty of how to actually build a game. Like you shouldn't see yourself as cybernetic dragons are always a good idea to introduce into like kind of whenever, right? Which we might see some of in the game, the demo game that I'm gonna run. So like you're not an antagonist. Like I find it really sucky when GMs are like out to like beat their players, you know? Like that sucks. Don't be like that. Hidden information I find is best used if used sparingly, or best like implemented if used sparingly, or at very least intentionally, right? Like not all information needs to be hidden, and thinking about like why should a piece of information be hidden or not. You should always be like working with your players to tell a good story. As Cicada said in chat earlier, your carefully laid plans will always fall apart. So, be willing to roll with that. So, how do we actually go about running a game? So, prep is a big thing, right? I kind of break out prep into kind of like 3 tiers almost, and with a few like sub tiers inside of that. And I'll talk about that in a moment. If any of my my players for my current Blades game are here, which I know some of you are, you might want to not look at the Twitch during this part, because I am going to be showing some of my prep work for that. If you don't want to see it, like that's a so when we're talking about like big picture prep, like that's kind of like what's going on in the state of the world, right? I like to think of a world that you're playing a game in as kind of being persistent, right? And therefore everything is happening even outside of like the scope of what's going on with the players. So like there are factions that are doing stuff, there are wars that are happening, there are politics that are happening, etc., like outside of like what specifically is going on with the players. And like thinking about like locations and NPCs and like paths and hooks that you could bring your players to and stuff like that, and things that you foreshadowed when you're like kind of building out what your next session is going to be. What's going on, Chris? Again, Chris, I don't know if you caught what I just said, but Chris is one of the players in my current game. I'm gonna be showing some of my prep work, so if you don't want to see it, then like look away or whatever. I also just realized that I had a notebook that I wanted to show you all that that is in the other room, but that's fine. So like when this is mostly like comes into play when you are planning when your next, like where your next session is going to take place, what path you want to go down, etc. I find it useful to we'll get there, because like I think of like sessions as being kind of modular. So like each session, for instance, and like if we're talking about like a longer campaign, right, is kind of like takes a constituent unit of time, and other things can happen within that time, while also like keeping in mind the choices that you've given your players to make, either like over like saying, okay, you have this crime lord at your mercy, do you kill them or not, right? Like or kind of more covert things, like you give the players the option to do one of 2 missions, and like they pick one, and then like the other like still kind of is there, right? And then you can like, if you want, take whatever logical extensions of the players not doing that task and make something happen. It is in that's my spouse. It's in my backpack, the black one. If you want to just bring me that backpack, that's fine. Thank you. So yeah. For instance, I in my current Blades game, thank you. I I'm just gonna do this out. This is my GMing notebook. I gave like one of the first Blades is very yes, the black backpack. Blades is very good when it comes to like having this kind of structure built into it already. Like it has each thing that the players like do actively is called an operation or a mission, and each mission then is followed by a downtime session. So like things can happen during the mission, things happen after the mission, etc. So I gave my players kind of the option of a few different missions at one point, and they decided to like take this one that was to like defend these mushroom people or whatever, instead of like investigating this other thing that happened. So as a result, the other thing that happened kind of like hung out there, and then I used that as like the seed for the next mission. It was like kind of like foil the plans of these people who are going to steal this cursed artifact or whatever. So the cursed artifact ended up getting stolen, and then found its way into the hands of this other person that they then, my players went to rob and encountered that cursed artifact there. So like you can do stuff like that, which I find really fun when it comes to this kind of prep. So yeah, use the answers to these questions to like build further sessions around. So then like when we're talking about session level prep, that's like what's going to go on in this particular like 2 hours or whatever. And you can kind of think about like this kind of session by session, or if the system that you're using has smaller units that have kind of a beginning and a clear end, like a dungeon, or as I was saying with Blades, a operation or whatever. You can think about like the scope of whatever it sits in that chunk of content, right? So I think that the first thing that you kind of want to do is design the geography of the session, and this can be like kind of abstract, right? So I'll show you sort of like what mine usually look like. And again, this is mostly for Blaze, but I can show you some that I did for like D&D and stuff also. But I like to kind of do this kind of stuff like flowchart. This is the operation that my my folks just finished. I don't know if y'all can see that. There, yeah. So it. And the kind of the way that I usually build these out is like thinking about the broader encounters, right? So like what do I want to happen, and what sequence do I want it to happen in, and are some the result of like something going wrong, are some the result of more successes. If I want to introduce some more complication, I usually have some other stuff off to the side that I could throw in. Like for this one, I'll just kind of like walk through some of the things that happened and could happen. So like, uh, like I have this big thing here that's like something takes notice of you basically, and that was kind of like like a progress bar that I was ticking in the background, where like the more my players failed, the more threat they would be under later on. um and then there's this other thing that's like basically like getting to the objective that you're trying to get to, and the more success they get, the closer they get to that. And the way that I usually run games is like I have kind of a list of like vibes, sort of, and kind of rooms or environments or things like that that I can kind of slot into any part of like where they're going to be. And this works better for some settings than other settings. If it's like a more traditional dungeon, then like, yeah, you might have like here's a combat arena, here's a whatever. We did one operation that was kind of like in just a mansion, so there were like some obvious things that could exist there. Like, here's where the party that you're going to try to infiltrate is. Here's where here's some like weird underground spaces to walk through to kind of move around faster. Here's like a ancient cursed door that is here for whatever reason. I'm gonna pull up my my like kind of big picture prep too while I'm talking about that. Oh, hello. That is it, but that is not the that's not where I wanted it to be. So a really dorky thing that I do also is I do a lot of my prep on a Trello board. Let me just load it up real fast. Yeah, so like this is kind of like what a lot of my prep looks like, where I have just like a list of NPCs, a list of factions, and they all kind of have like tags about like what they're doing at any given time. And here's like, yeah, it's like it works out really well. Here's like a list of like things that like I could do for future sessions, like things that have come up, things that I've foreshadowed, things that like I've mentioned sort of offhandedly, and some of this like I've just made up on the fly, where I'm like, oh, but some of it's like this is building to something big. I don't know if you're around, Valerie, but there's y'all know that there's some big stuff going on there, and these are like the sort of active missions that are not necessarily active missions, but like things that I could give my players to do next, sort of. And here's just the stuff that they've done, and some locations. This is incomplete though, I gotta say. So yeah, like when I'm sitting down to prep something, I'll usually just look at this board and be like, okay, what could happen? What do I want to have them do next, and what would make sense for the like the current situation, So yeah, that's kind of how I think about geography usually. And like something that I think is worth thinking about is tonal shifts. So like if you, and this kind of goes back to like what running behind time, that's fine. Like when you are building like a dungeon, let's say, or something like that, and you have like, my current party is a dude who's good at punching stuff, a teen who is good at lying, a weirdo who's good at blowing stuff up, and kind of like a vaguely magical, witchy academic person. So like if I just did like combat all the time, like most of my characters would have little to nothing to do. So like shifting like based on who you're playing with and what they want to do, like what is available to any of your characters at any given time, I think is very important. And like again, pacing is always important. So I'm gonna scoot through a bunch of this stuff. This is the last slide for this. So like a few other quick tips for like just being in game, right? Is it's good to show the barrel of the gun before firing it. And if you don't, like, this is something where it's like, sometimes it is fun to just like spring something on your players, but then you can't make the consequences too bad, right? Like I had an instance a few sessions ago where one of my players was like, I'm here, I am walking down this spooky hallway making a ruckus. And I was like, okay, roll a d6. And they failed, and I sprung a trap on them. But like that would be something where it's like, it wouldn't have like hurt them too direly or anything like that. That was just almost like a joke. And then, they kept doing it, so I did it again, So, be mindful of your like not being too mean to your players. I feel like you could be a mean GM if you want, but like I usually find that is counterproductive. Also, be mindful of like the information that your players know versus the information that their characters know. Like dramatic irony is fun, and playing with that is fun, I find. And like critically, if you're gonna make a player roll a die, make sure that both success and failure have like equal interest. Like if like you're like roll a d6 to open this door or whatever, and they don't, then it's like you can't progress. Like that's no fun for anyone, right? So with all that, let's talk about and show how this all works in practice. So I wrote a little scenario for this workshop, and like a little game that's a hack of Lasers and Feelings by John Harper, which like it's the obvious one, but that's fine. And I'm gonna post a link to it in chat. So here, if you want the game and the prep materials, it's all there. Do I have my people in chat? I think I did. Yeah, everyone's here. Cool. Hello. Feel free to unmute yourselves.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, Pepper's deafened also. I'll poke them. Oh, no, they're here. Hello. Okay, so I got basically almost my entire crew that I usually play with, and one extra who's my spouse. So for this game, kind of what I want to do is just like play a few encounters or whatever with sort of like all cards on the table, being like, here's how like I would go about making decisions. And if you want to like if you want like throw things in chat about like if I'm at a point where it makes sense, or even if it doesn't make sense, I don't really care. Like throw some ideas out about like where this thing should go or whatever. But the general vibe is that I wanted to tell a kind of weird haunted forest type story, because I can't not be like this, where the sort of like answer is that it's actually aliens, and also everyone's bug people, just because I also thought that'd be fun.
Because bugs are cool.
Because bugs are
cool. You got hella bugs.
Yeah, got hella bugs.
Wait, we have a lot of bugs.
All right, so anyone of the people who are on Discord with me want to introduce themselves and their characters? Also, yeah. So if you haven't played Lasers and Feelings, which is the game that I hacked for this, it's the simplest system imaginable. Basically, everyone has one number, which is a stat, and I divided it into like kind of in all Lasers and Feelings games. The stat is kind of bipolar, so like there's a low end and a high end. For us, low is quiet, high is loud. So if you are trying to do something that is quiet, you want to roll high because you want to roll over your number. If you're trying to do something loud, you want to roll low because you want to roll under your number. And that's it, basically. If you roll one success, if you roll one die, it's and you get one success, it's like a mixed success. If you roll two die, multiple dice, and you get two success, that's a full success. If you get three, that's a critical success. That's it. It's very, very simple. And I'll explain sort of how it works as things come up. So, folks want to introduce yourselves and your characters.
I'll go first, I guess.
Sure.
I'm a dung beetle. My name is Maurice Fiddlebug. And for work, I'm one of those scummy people who goes and buys storage units that people have defaulted on and flips all their belongings. And I also dumpster dive a lot. I'm kind of the bug version of Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah.
That's what my character is based on.
Sick.
I'm very grungy and kind of grubby and kind of the person you might smell before you see them.
Yes. You're incredible. I think that my character goes really well with that. It's Rindoxia, but he tries to get everyone to either call him Dox or Doxy, but everyone just kind of calls him Rin or Rinny. And he loves to just hack some stuff together and makes it kind of worse, but at more things. And he loves to like collect stuff, and he thinks that he's really suave and like cold and distant, but he's just a little goof. And
that's perfect.
He's very loud. That's all.
Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're good.
I'm not getting cool. Sorry, I'm not getting a little ring. I'm Pepper, and my character is a scare beetle named Blom Gorchnik, who is a quartermaster and just kind of generally strange and reserved. Although they love to help people and obtain resources for them, kind of extremely. Just kind of has kind of like sidekick energy in a way.
Killer. Valerie? It looks like you're saying stuff, but I can't hear you. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Hello, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Good. Sorry, I had to reconnect my whole situation.
That's fine.
No. Anyway, my name is Valerie, and my insect is a Lunamoth. My character is a monster hunter named Cerulia, with a sordid past, and I guess she's very she's somewhat stoic and soft-spoken, but also very blushy in general.
Good. All right, so just like kind of read what I wrote for this thing.
I forgot to say the type of bug that I was, so I
Oh
just
yeah.
really quickly wanted to say I'm a Kalidasa lunata. It's just like a little red boy with wings. He's
Hell
pretty
yeah.
cute.
Pretty cute. Okay. Um, so, uh, the setting. The small farming town of Winterbreach sits at the edge of a large forest. Its inhabitants spend their days tending their crops and livestock, and their nights telling campfire stories. Even though most who live in this town have been here for as long as they can remember, the forest remains uncannily unexplored. It simply always has. It simply always been there. Occasionally, someone will take it upon themselves to venture out and map it, but none have been successful. They return confused, disoriented, and without much to show for it. Many legends and myths thus have formed over time about the forest. That it's cursed, that it's the seat of some dark magic, that there's a monster who haunts it. Sometimes at night, when all is still in Winterbreach, a chaotic howling can be heard coming from the forest. But before long, it's morning again, and the crops and livestock need to be tended to. So the sort of inciting incident for this is that there are two young nymphs named Meek and Mellow, or Meek and Mellow rather, who were out playing and a bit too close to the forest, and they never came home. You have each at one point or another taken it upon yourselves to explore and learn about the forest, to map it or otherwise understand its geography. And as a result, you seem like the only people who in this town who have a chance of finding the children. So the what was I gonna say? This is like way more than I'd usually write about like something. Like sometimes I'll just like jot down a few things like the last mission in Blades that I ran. I was like, I want to do the found footage movie, The Tunnel, crossed with the Silent Hill Historical Society, and like then go from there. Like since this was kind of like facing like y'all, I wanted to write a little bit more about like what the vibe is and what the sort of setup is and stuff like that, for people who aren't like just me. So like the setting notes and vibes that I have are like dim, cold, and still until it's not. Kind of a slow burn, and sort of aesthetically I'm thinking sort of like dusk tones, but with some vibrant colors where it makes sense. And not everything needs an answer. So like there are kind of three big strokes to this scenario where, and this game, you know, where like the sort of like twist, so to speak, is that the forest is basically like a pocket dimension, meant to keep everyone inside, safe from something. Something that I'm calling the Watchers. And there is a monster in it, but she's basically friendly. She's called the Gardener, and her job is to tend the gates that lead out of the forest. She'll only really be an antagonist if she's attacked first. There are, though, some other creatures that are servitors of the Watchers that the players may or may not encounter, depending on how things go. Okay, so setting the scene, y'all. Usually I would have some time, like spend, you know, a bit of time with the players in the town or wherever they start and just like do a bit of like information gathering. But since we have like, you know, less than an hour to finish this, we're probably not gonna finish it. Who am I kidding? Yeah, the Gardener's awesome. She like I basically based her on like, what if the I'll just read her description because in case y'all aren't looking at it. She's not a threat if left alone, but will attack if forced. Looks like a formally unstable machine, meaning she's just like kind of like her the edges of her body are kind of like wiggly and uncertain. Vaguely like made out of rocks, but moves like a giant wolf with large antlers made of bone. She sounds like a swarm of bees pitched down 2 octaves. If the explorers attack her, she will defend herself. She cannot be defeated by the explorers on their own. She tends to each gateway in sequence before returning to her home. I didn't finish that sentence. Sorry about that. Yeah, the gardener is a big lady. Think like, sort of like the some of the stonework in Twilight Princess was kind of an aesthetic touchstone for like what she looks like.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, I would usually like have you spend some time just hanging out in town, talking to people, stuff like that. But since we have like, an hour and 20 minutes, I'm just gonna stick you right in the forest. So you've entered this forest, and this is like where I usually say like, okay, set the scene, set the aesthetic tones. Everything's like green and hazy, so like you've entered, and like you can still see the town of Winterbreach behind you, but it feels further away than like it should, sort of. I'm gonna close this for now. I'm just gonna draw. So you find yourselves like sort of in this sort of, not exactly clearing, but like it feels like a path, sort of. This, by the way, is owlbear.rodeo, which is what I like to use for map drawing, just because it's super light. It also has like an on-screen dice roller, which is useful for this, So the first like set of things that I kind of have like on the list of like stuff that can happen is like I kind of broke this out into 3 encounters. The first one is like for them to find their path, and for that I have like a bunch of like things that can complicate that, sort of, or just like aesthetic things that can happen, aesthetic or threatening, so to speak, challenges that they'll have to overcome, etc. But y'all find yourselves in this kind of like this path that seems to have formed for you as you have walked into it, is sort of how it feels. Like when you're walking through the forest and you're like, this isn't a designed path, but it feels like there's a route through here, What are y'all doing?
Unless somebody else has something, I know what my little buddy does. My buddy just kind of, your boy Rennie, really is just kind of scanning the ground, looking for little stuff to pick up. Like he knows that there's like a whole like serious thing, but I'm mostly just like scanning the ground for stuff and occasionally putting stuff into a little pack.
Cool. So like something that I hadn't really considered is who my characters were ahead of time. So at this point,
I told you last night at like 6.
You told me last night at like 6. So
a.m.
Yeah.
I told you like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
2 hours ago.
So like this is something where it's like, oh, I know that there could be something under them. So and like if they find some weird stuff, like that could be interesting and evoke a kind of mystery. So this is a point where I was like, yeah, why don't you roll your quiet?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to have it be the quiet one, where I have to have over the number, right?
Yes, you're trying to get over
That's
your
so
number.
fun. I was really hoping for that.
Yeah.
So I think we've said my character has a 5, so I have to get a 6 specifically, right?
Yes, you have to get a 6. But so this is an instance where your job is Tinkerer, and I think that gives you an extra die. And what's your vibe again?
My vibe, I think we said daring, goofy, mechanically minded. I don't know if that's like adventurous. Yeah. I don't know what you put for that.
Let me look.
I looked at those little three, like the list of ones that it came with, and I was just like, I don't know how this maps to this. Here's the words. Please help me.
Yeah. So, daring, I think, is what I settled on for you.
Okay, cool.
Which I don't think applies here. So,
no, I'm just tugging on shit.
Yeah.
You know, on the ground and stuff, on trees.
So the way that the system works is they have 2 dice. They have to get a 6 on one of them. If they get a 6 on one of them, that's like a mixed success, meaning that like they get what they want, but at cost. And I think I know what the cost is. It's probably something like they will accidentally trigger some kind of a trap or something like that, or like I'm not gonna introduce any like enemies yet, but like I think that they will like hurt themselves. Okay, so that's a 5, which
the okayest.
Yes, the okayest. I forgot what I wrote in the rules for
when it's on.
But I think I'm just gonna count it as a success. It lays the feeling to have like special rules for that, but I'm just gonna count it as a success just for the sake of simplicity.
Thanks.
No problem. So that is, I think that what happens here is you tug on. So what are you trying to do? You're just trying to like find stuff that.
I'm looking for cool stuff in the woods. Like, I know I'm also looking for these kids, but I'm looking for cool stuff in the woods.
Okay. You find a cool thing in the woods.
Yeah.
It is a smooth, kind of like opalescent stone.
Sick.
So what this stone is, Twitch, is an eye of one of the servitors. So they, if I introduce any servitors, they're gonna know where y'all are. That's what the cost is.
I also would like to say, just like especially since you kind of gave it to me when it was iffy, after this, like, I'm just sitting here like fidgeting with it and like pulling shit out of my bag and like wrapping it around and stuff. Like, I'm not paying attention, and if that comes up narratively, I am not paying attention.
I know what my character's gonna do.
Okay.
I think.
What's up?
I'm gonna go over to Rennie and be like, "Hey, what you got there? What you doing? You got a nice gem there. You know how much that's worth?"
It's a cool rock, right?
Oh yeah, it's a real cool rock. Where'd you get it? Where'd you find it?
The ground. You know the ground?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, I've heard of the ground.
Oh, me too.
I thought that we were saying that you weren't going to be just trouble but a bug.
Shut up! I'm like this. I'll try my good gosh darndest. I was hoping I was actually going to use it for, and then I just kind of start rambling about like some like silly thing that I'm building. It's like, I think it'll go really well like right in the center, and like it seems like it might be like conductive or something. It seems like it shines some light through it. Like, don't you think it's really? I'm just like flipping it over, just rambling to. What's your character's name again, Tannis?
Maurice Spittlebug. You can call me Maury.
Yes, Maury.
I'm being
sorry.
very interested in this very cool thing, being like, hey, I can get you a bunch more rocks. This one, this is just one. Quality over quality. Why don't you give me a look-see there?
I like hold it into my chest and I'm like, I like this. It's the light. Did you hear about the light? I told you about the light.
What are Pepper? What's your character's name again?
My character's name is Blom Glorchnak. I can drop it in chat if
What's Blom up to?
A really similar thing, where I'm just kind of like fidgeting a lot and just kind of going around in the woods trying to find something, just like looking around to see if I can get my little bug hands on something that could be useful to us and just kind of prolong our longevity
Cool.
in the woods as we do this.
Yeah. Okay. So that also sounds like a quiet. What's your job as quartermaster? What's your vibe again? Cautious.
Yeah.
I think that applies here. I'll say it does. So, yes. So let me know when you want me to roll.
Let's see. Let me get that window up. Okay, I'm all set.
Boop. That sure is a total failure. So here, this is an interesting situation where like a success here, and this is literally just me going against the rules that I just laid out to you. Because a success here I was going to give them like some kind of clue as to like you find some like a shred of clothing or like footprints or something like that. But I didn't really have anything in chamber for a failure. So what I think I'm gonna do in that case is again like looking at my prep. Don't have the right thing open. I think that you're like looking around. Oh, wait. I said quiet, right? And your quiet's a 2. So that's a double success. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Blaze rules. So yeah, you get a full success. I'm so used to like 1s and 2s being failures. So sorry about that. Again, know your game.
Okay.
So yeah, you find a let's say footprints. Yeah, you find footprints that look like little nymph footprints running off, sort of like towards like through the trees and like towards a kind of clearing.
Cool. Gotcha. Thank you. I can.
Like,
I was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying like kind of like this way. Again, positioning doesn't really matter here, but like we'll like I like drawing maps.
I would probably just like report back to the other people in our little bug party.
Yeah, I think that these bugs are bipedal. They could be like hexapedal.
I was picturing myself as bipedal.
Yeah, bipedal, but with like 4 arms.
My boy kind of seems to walk a lot on like his back 4, so I feel like he kind of has his general same body
Like a
position.
centaur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm Bugcon Man.
Cool.
I just walk with all of my legs.
Nice. Yeah. Just all of them all the time. Valerie, what are you up to? What's your character's name again?
Cerulia.
Cerulia. It's a good name.
Let's see. Are we searching for a particular item, or are we simply just surveying the area?
2 children. We're searching for 2 children, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, short attention span.
I'm mostly focused on my rock. You're fine.
I take out like a little bit of bread from my little travel pack and start munching as I start looking on the ground for some like potential footprints or potential things that they may have, like some kind of trail.
Okay, so Pepper like just found some footprints leading off towards a clearing. So if y'all wanna go walk in that direction.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I think.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Valerie.
Oh, thank you. I'm just gonna. You know what? I'm going to search for traps.
Okay.
Along with footprints. Yes.
Cool.
That is just what I'm going to do.
What's your number again? I can't remember.
My number is 3. Well,
Okay.
I said 4, but then I realized I made this whole thing about a character being this soft-spoken, elegant huntress. So I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna go with 3.
Okay, that sounds good. So yeah, you are I think that also is a quiet roll. So yeah, you're trying to roll above a 3. Thank you. So your job, I think, is relevant here. What's your vibe again?
My vibe is thoughtful.
Thoughtful. Cool. I think that applies here too.
Okay.
So you're let me know when you want me to roll. Trying to get above a 3.
Please roll. Just bandage off.
Okay. Yeah, that's a critical success. Because we're counting the sames as successes. You don't find any traps. So here's an instance where like she wanted to do something that like I didn't really have anything for. Like there aren't any traps here. But there is this like buried watcher corpse that I have just like in chamber, you know, and as just like a spooky thing that I could kind of dump on my players, right? So you are kind of like rifling around in the dirt and forest floor, and you find this like this what looks like a rock, right? And then you dig through it a little bit more, and you're like, no, wait, these are bones, but they're bones that like have the texture and consistency of stone, and they have like runes on them, maybe, and yeah, so you find like basically like what looks like a femur,
Oh my God.
and that's like all that is, and like part of a skull. Maybe you see like an ocular God, what's it called? Like the eye hole, basically.
A socket.
Yeah. And like the brow ridge of this like really big, scary looking creature that you haven't seen before.
I gasp.
What was that?
Gasp.
And yeah, this is something where it's like it doesn't matter mechanically, but it adds a bit of good texture, I think, to what's going on here. So, now you have this path to this clearing and this weird body. What are y'all doing?
I want to do something specific that I've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
This is specifically so you can describe how to handle this scenario. I'm going to, Maury wants to go find the kids, so Uncle Maury's gonna go save them. He's gonna go barreling through the forest and just doesn't care what is in his way, trudging through the muck. I'm just gonna go, all heels forward.
Yeah. Okay.
Not caring what anyone else is doing.
Sure. So this is an instance where a lot of the times your players will do things that you have not anticipated. And so I think that Leroy Jenkins this shit. And
Maurice Spittlebug.
so yeah, this is an instance where I would probably I'm gonna have them roll some dice and see what happens, and then as we can use the whether or not it's a success or failure, or to what degree it's a success or failure, to figure out what happens. So this is definitely allowed. What's your number again? You're
I'm 3.
Okay, so you're trying to roll below a 3. What's your job again? I think
I'm sort of like a grifter, scammer,
yeah, right,
con man kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I wrote that down in the rules as swindler. Swindler or scavenger. It was one of those two.
Scavenger.
Okay. And I think it puts your vibe as grungy.
Yes.
So I think that that the only one that feels relevant, unless you have a case for any of the others, is the base d6.
No, I think this is just the base one. I don't think there's
Okay.
anything that's gonna help
Cool.
me here.
Yeah. Okay. So you're trying to get below a 3. Boop. That is sure as a 6.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, this is a point at which, so Maurice, I'm gonna just say is like over here, and the rest of the party is like over here, maybe. You hear Maurice, hear like a rustling in the trees. If y'all are looking at the scenario, I think this is like the rustling in the trees encounter.
Okay, I just got an ad on my Twitch. Hold on a second.
Okay, sure. So yeah, like how I wrote this is like the explorers hear something. It might be nothing. When they face it, they might see 3 tall shadows backlit from an unknown source. This could be a fight, but doesn't have to be. This might be a fight. So you hear like basically like footsteps running kind of like in your general direction. You see like, do you face it or do you just keep running?
What direction are the footsteps coming from? Are they coming from like behind me
you.
or in front
Yeah.
of me? Behind me?
Behind
like,
above you.
Behind and above. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of glance over my shoulder and like look up the trees. I feel like there might be like, I don't know what this world's equivalent of like a squirrel is, but
Yeah.
I'm not
It could be a
super
Yeah.
I'm not
so,
super concerned about it.
Yeah, so you see basically like a bright light shining through the trees. It like it almost looks like the sun or something like that. You know how like the sunlight filters through the trees and creates like kind of splash patterns on a forest floor. It's like that, but the light is moving in a really weird kind of way, and then you see something. You see kind of like this shadowed figure kind of like darting between the trees. Really quickly, kind of almost. I'm already using that token, so whoops. Let me grab another token. There we go. Let's use this one. A really like dumb, bad sort of aesthetic touchstone that I have in my head for what this looks like from your vantage point is like the first like exam arc in Naruto where they're like darting between the trees like Naruto running in the forest. It's kind of like that, you know, but like but you can't see like where this thing's limbs are really. It's looking at it is like making your eyes strain because it's hard to figure out where the edges of it are and like what it is doing with any part of its body.
Ooh.
Back to let's say Phoenix, what's your character's name again?
They go by Doxy.
Right, Doxy. What are you up to, Dox?
Oh, I have terrible. I know what I'm doing. It's not helpful for anything, and it is in fact actively harmful.
I love my players.
Gonna be a bad idea, but I know exactly what I do because I was talking about the light. So I pick up the rock and I'm just holding up the rock and like looking, like staring only at the rock and like running towards the light.
Okay, so the thing that is currently chasing Maurice is excuse me, is a Servitor Z, which is like the smallest enemy that I made for this, which are kind of like. What is that?
Nothing.
Okay.
I just said baby.
Baby. Yeah, they're I've imagined them kind of like small, crouching humanoids with really long arms, and maybe we'll do something.
I really like that description.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah. And so yeah, they're good at navigating through trees, basically.
They're kind of stone. Everybody's kind of stone. All the not we're bugs, and then the other people are mostly kind of stone.
Yeah, kind of stone, kind of skeletal.
Cool.
All around spooky guys.
All around spooky.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that like again, just for the sake of like figuring out what happens here, this might be an interesting place to have them roll. Probably loud is my guess.
I was hoping.
Yeah. So
This ain't quiet.
You're chasing this light, holding out this thing, which is like the body part of like one of this a creature that is like this one. What's
Good. I'm also not looking. I'm looking at the rock. I don't.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I think that your it's hard to say whether or not like daring applies here, but I think it does. We could say that daring applies here.
I think daring applies in that I don't think that I'm unaware that something bad could happen. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Again, whatever you planned for whatever you planned in your scenario, your players will always do the weirdest stuff with it. So let's roll with it. So that's 2d6. You're trying to get below or equal to a 5.
Yeah. Let's see. They're both gonna be 6s.
No, it's 1 and a 2.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cute.
That's cute.
So you're quietly gonna trip and bash your head in. Okay.
No, it's they succeeded at loudly doing the thing.
Yeah, no, this is loud. I'm crunching and stomping.
Yeah, crunching and stomping. So I think what this looks like, and this is another instance in which like I don't have a plan for like this specific circumstance, but I think that like what this looks like is the Servitor Z isn't gonna get the jump on Maurice, so he's
because it's just so confused by whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that it's like it senses an ally nearby, sort of. So
the eye.
The eye, yeah.
Okay.
And so it stops, and you hear like a, and you haven't seen this thing yet, but you hear like a kind of sound.
Nice.
Dial-up noise.
Yeah, basically you hear something that sounds like a modem, and remember this is like a pre-electrical culture that y'all come from, so like it's very confusing.
Yeah. If I'm still in this, I do kind of be like, hey, I don't actually know what that means. Do you know about the cool rock or that light over there?
The cool rock starts vibrating.
Oh, sick. Are you doing this? Is this you?
So, like, at this point, we could do something like, and if anyone in chat like has ideas about what should happen at this point, let me know. But what I think I wanted to have happen is, yeah, let's get weird with it. Like, yeah, the I like you feel like a tension, like you try to like pull it, or you have your hand on it, right?
Yeah, it's in my little mitts.
Okay,
But I'm holding
so,
it like up at like eye level.
yeah,
in
so
front.
when you try to move it like away, it doesn't want to. It's like being kind of like pulled towards a kind of position, like a locus sort of, and it begins to like strengthen its grip in that direction, basically.
The rock wants me to go over here. I think the rock wants me to go this way. I'll be. You can come. I'll be back. This is me to them.
To whom? Okay. Val or Pepper, what are you doing? And are you seeing this? Are you seeing like what's going on?
I'm seeing this. I'm noticing the reverse tension from the rock. And all I can think is, where's the wire? There must be some kind of tether. And I basically take some dirt from the ground and try to blow it into like a dust form behind the rock.
Okay. So this is something where like I don't know what success looks like. I don't know what failure looks like. I don't think that this is a roll. This feels like just like she can just do that,
Yeah.
And you so you're just like throwing dust like in Dox's direction.
Basically, I'm trying to figure out what this tether is, if there is one, and see what I can do from there. Because
yes, so
that rock.
So what I'm gonna do now basically is like the eye is becoming a new servitor is kind of what's happening. So the way that I might depict this is this dust that is being blown at it kind of gets like starts to congeal around it, and becomes like inky and black, or like not black, like a kind of a violet color, with like maybe some like flecks of teal in it, and it hits Dox's hand, I think. It doesn't do anything really, but like it feels like slick, like oil almost, and kind of like wiggles its way around the eye, and you feel it kind of start to throb. I think at this point it does just like dart away from your hand and start to kind of like form a cocoon, just in the air.
Oh my god.
What are you up to, Pepper?
Nervously encouraging everyone to be very careful, and still kind of continuing to just accrue resources if possible. I think that my character feels a little bit out of their element, but still wants to be useful.
Cool. So what does that look like? Again, at chat, this is an instance where like, run into this sometimes where like a player doesn't really know how to like deal with a particular situation, or that's something that their characters just isn't good at. So like, asking probing questions like what are you doing? What does that look like for the so that like we can kind of drill down into like what this could be, insofar as like what your character is doing or things like that is often helpful.
So like I think that Just 1 second. So they're just kind of scurrying around, and just kind of they see what Val is doing and feel a little bit, I guess, a little bit more compelled to kind of join in, but not actually running into the woods or anything. But just kind of have a look at the map again here. Kind of maybe approaching the periphery of like where the where those tracks lead out, and just kind of joining everybody.
Gotcha. So yeah, y'all are like maybe over here, and there's some stuff going on here. I'm gonna just pencil in that eye. Weird blue thing. So yeah, there's like this weird cocoon forming here, and y'all know what cocoons look like because y'all are bugs. And so like that, it's funny because like that thing isn't like the weird stuff that's going on here necessarily, but it is. You don't see rocks turned into cocoons too often, big cocoons. Maurice, what are you up to now that all this is going down behind you?
Well, I've definitely stopped and had to take a second look. I think I was shielding my eyes earlier and kind of stunned for a bit, so I didn't really see exactly what went on, and now I'm kind of like, what the heck is happening here? So I'm gonna kind of retrace my steps and try to figure out like what my next step is, I think. But I'm gonna try to be sneaky about it, so like I don't set off anything weird.
Yeah. So like throughout all this, there's this one. There still is this one servitor hanging out up here, and I think that it finally like shows itself for real. So it drops down from the trees, and it's this kind of, as I said before, like crouched over humanoid figure. Looks like it has kind of like exposed vertebrae and like maybe like reverse jointed legs and like long arms, and it kind of shrieks when it lands. So there are things sometimes that come up in running RPGs like this, the cocoon thing, where it's like it's a good idea to like keep track of like how much time has passed before like something happens, like this thing hatches or whatever. And a game like Blades in the Dark has a good system for that. They call them clocks, where like you could just like basically take up progress bars for like things that happen. For something like this, I might just like say, if that thing's not done in like 3 combat rounds, if combat lasts that long, then it'll hatch into a new servitor. But again, like this is a pacing question, because like I don't like to go too hard into like one type of gameplay for too long. So like if it's something where like this combat takes forever and then it's like, oh, this is going to hatch into another enemy that will go on for even longer. And that's like, we have one character out of our 4 who's like actually made for fighting. It might make sense to like do something different with that. So let's see how this goes though. So yeah, it jumps down, shrieks at you. And I think charges at someone. So I'm gonna just roll a d4 to see who it attacks. So let's say 1 is Maurice, 2 is Dox, 3 is Pepper, 4 is Valerie. I cannot remember y'all's characters' names. So boop. So that is Maurice. So sticking to its original plan, it charges at Maurice, has like big claws in its hands also, and yeah, so what do you do? The way that this specific game works is that like a lot of it's reactive, so like as a GM, you're making moves less than you are like adding consequence to things that your players do. But in this particular circumstance, like I'm going to bend that a little bit, where I'm just going to say, how do you want to get out of this?
I don't know if Maurice is gonna try to get out of this. He kind of just is bowled over by whatever this thing is on his back, flailing his legs.
Sure. Yeah. So the creature pounces on Maurice. What is anyone else doing?
I would like to attempt to intervene.
Okay, cool. How are you doing that? I just realized that there's a typo in the stream name. That hardly matters, but I'm going to fix that while you tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of just let out this really terrible metallic shriek that's just the worst. And I'm just going to kind of scuttle over and just leap on the clawed bugaboo. I'm just gonna hop on it and just try to remove it from Maurice.
Sure.
If at all possible.
Yeah, that sounds like allowed to me.
Be loud. Very loud.
Be allowed. Okay. And I think that you only get one die for this because that is not cautious and it isn't really fitting with your job.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So you're what's your 3?
Huh? I'm a 2.
Oh, you're a 2. So you're trying to get at or below a 2 with this one die. That's fine. That sure is a success. That sure is a 6. So here's a situation where, again, being reactive, right? I think that what's your character's pronouns again, Pepper?
They don't.
Okay, so yeah, they're gonna get hurt by this, I think. And I'm just kind of vaguely tracking health, I'm kind of generally saying that your characters can take about 3 hits per encounter, whatever. And so yeah, I think that what happens here is you jump on the creature's back and it just elbows you basically, and you fall off and now it's on you. So it does a weird twists its body around and and reverses your attack, right? And hits you for loosely 1 damage, where I'm not counting damage too strongly with this this game, just because this is a demo for the internet. So Valerie or Phoenix, where are y'all up to?
Okay, so I have a degree of experience with monsters.
Yeah, you do.
Hunter. So I'm going to fly over. I'm going to try to hover over to towards the servitor's back and try to strike them with my weapon.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What kind of weapon are you using?
I'm assuming a sword.
Could be a sword. Could be
I don't entirely know the technology level of the campaign.
Again, feudal, medieval is kind of what I was thinking, but
an acid tip. No, I'm gonna try an acid tipped blade.
Okay.
I don't want to accidentally hit anybody else.
Sure. So yeah, you definitely get a job bonus from that, and what's your other thing again?
Vibe.
Yeah. What was that? Thoughtful, right? So I don't know if that affects this, but whatever. If you can make a case for it, but Yeah, so you are going to attack this from behind, kind of like I imagine you like hitting it in the like the weird exposed spine thing that it has going on. Attack the weak point for massive damage. What what's your number again? Sorry. I should have this like on screen or something, but I don't.
3.
3. Cool. So you're trying to get below a 3.
Yes. Oh no.
At or below 3. Boop.
At or below 3.
That's 2 3s. That's a double. That's a pure success.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I think like here's an instance where it's like, yeah, we were like spinning around a bit and like I really don't like combat encounters that go for too long. So like this is an instance, especially because like we're like nowhere in this and have like about 20 minutes left. So here's an instance where I think I'm just gonna cut this short, right? Where like, yeah, you kill it, you know, and like,
cool.
and like that you can be like looser with that with games that allow for that. Like this game like definitely allows for like some looseness in the rules. Like something like Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, I wouldn't suggest necessarily doing that. But like, you know, it's fine to toss your player's bone sometimes, when it comes to like, you know, if something makes fictional sense, like, yeah, she's a character who is like well versed at hunting weird stuff, and this isn't a very powerful weird thing. This is like the lowest level enemy that I have. And she's like stabbing it through the spine with an acid tipped blade. Sure, like it's dead.
Okay.
So
Well,
it
basically. Oh, sorry.
no, I was gonna say it just like yeah, you like sever its spine and it like falls down with like a kind of like you hear like it sounds like metal against stone when it collapses.
Well, I float back down, make a prayer to my gods, and then, silently, and then, like, kneel.
Cool.
I'm really glad that I didn't have to be involved in that. I had a very bad plan, and I still have a different bad plan for right now.
Yeah, let's do it. Love bad plans.
My current bad plan is, so we got this big, like, cocoon thing, and, like, I saw it be rock stuff, and then it was a cocoon, or I just saw it be a big-ass cocoon.
You saw it be rock, and then a weird
Okay,
cocoon.
cool. Yeah, I thought so. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, so I'm just kind of, like, very, like, I don't know, anime boy, like Yusuke, like, got like hopping around it, trying to like prod at it and like feel at the little sinews and see if I can even like take little bits of the strings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not a great idea, but like, I mean, literally, like, I'll even be like on top of it, like just like little like classic like little anime boy darting from thing to thing.
Good. Yeah, so like it's like weirdly warm and like fuzzy. It feels like corn silk or something like that, kind of. Like it's like kind of sinewy and it's like throbbing and is like kind of warm. It feels unnervingly like skin in some places.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty sick. I have the little thing of the little eye is just like in my like in one of my little pockets or something. If I have little clothes, I don't know if the bug people wear clothes. I have it tucked away somewhere.
Sure.
And I'm just like kind of messing with this thing, and I guess it's really fucked up, but like Doxy's not great, and so I guess I kind of would like to try to like be careful and not get like at where it's like the skin at all, but try to like take out like a little like blade that I have I don't know. I don't know if this bug has sharp things. I don't think they do. I take out a little blade and I try to like cut up just some of the hair part, like the part that feels like just the fur, like corn silk part, and I just try to like cut up a little bit of that to like put in my pocket.
Okay.
With the eye, the same pocket as the eye.
So, yeah, you get some. Are y'all just gonna like leave this cocoon here?
I don't have any plans to try to take this thing. I would love to, but that's big. It's big.
Sure. I mean, you don't have to do anything with it. That's fine.
I think I'd kind of like to.
What was that, Valerie?
I place a shard of the cocoon off for further analysis.
Okay, like you cut it off?
Yes, I cut it off with my blade.
Into the meat?
No, just the cocoon.
Yeah.
See if I can if it's.
That's kind of meaty cocoon.
Yeah, like the meat part of the cocoon.
Cocoon like
the cocoon meat.
Meat cocoon.
No.
The anthropologist in me is screaming.
Yeah.
Is it like more like a rice noodle?
Ooh, what?
I don't know.
So.
Oh my god. What sort of base protein is this cocoon made of?
Can we eat it? Do we
want
eat the cocoon?
And like put it in my pouch just to see what would happen. Maybe.
Okay, so like the goo leaks out. There's goo everywhere. It's glowing blue. There's glowing blue goo everywhere, and the cocoon kind of like shrivels up. Okay.
Oh wow. Ah, nice. Sorry. If I have a little jar, I try to take some of this goo. Otherwise, I'm definitely
You can
getting
have a jar.
in this
That's
goo.
fine. Yeah.
I'm getting all up in this goo.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so now, you're like slowly building one of the servitors just like in your pockets.
Deconstructed servitor
Yeah. Love it.
with a servitor glaze.
You got
Side
it.
of servitor salad.
God. So this girl's gone.
Carpaccio. Okay, I'm done.
God. And it's just a pile of goo. Cool. So that was like the first like 2-ish encounters that I had planned. So any questions from chat right now about any of this? If not, we could probably get through like another-ish and then wind down.
Oh, good.
So I'm gonna get rid of. I'm not gonna get rid of. So what are y'all doing? While this goo leaks out of this cocoon, and you still have like these footsteps that you found. It's so here's just like a little side note. Like it's good to remind players from time to time like kind of what's going on, because sometimes like when you get into the thick of things, like it's easy to lose track of like the bigger picture of certain aspects of the game, or like between sessions, right? Like I like to have my players talk about like what they did last time, sort of, or things of that nature, just so that everyone's on the same page about like what we all are doing.
I think Maurice is still on his back, just kind of rocking, trying to get up, being useless.
Yeah. Is anyone gonna help Maurice up?
I will. I will hopefully be more successful this time. Since we're not under duress as much.
Yeah. No, you like that's something that you could just do, right? because like not under duress, and again like I'm not gonna make you roll for like helping your friend up. Like that's the kind of stuff where it's like yeah, obviously you can just do that. Val and Phoenix and what are y'all doing?
I guess we venture further.
Cool. Which do you follow the footprints that you found, or do you go in a different direction?
We follow the footprints.
Yeah. So
Considering.
okay.
Cool.
So you find yourselves in another little kind of clearing. This one is actually like a clearing. And there's this like ring of stones. They're pretty like uncannily smooth and uncannily placed. If you see on the thing that I posted in chat, this is like the part that says the witch stones, and this is like one of those things where it's like this will be important later on, but it's not really important right now. This is just kind of to add a bit of like extra texture, right? Where you like to foreshadow something or whatever. This is like one of the gates to like the outside world, kind of, and one of the places where the gardener might be at any given time. She's not here right now though. We could like be talking about where she is at any given time. Like by I don't know, I could draw like a little thing here and say like she's here, and like next like encounter, this is kind of what I was talking about before, where like you might want to keep track of time sort of in the background. Like she might move to this one and then she might move to this one. Players are currently at this one, so yeah, she's not here right now. But yeah, so you see this ring of stones and these footprints that like kind of like went into this area, but then they kind of like vanished. They didn't. It doesn't look like they vanished at these stones, but kind of in this area, like you lost sight of where they were going. What are y'all doing? Let's say Maurice, what are you doing? Right.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted.
That's fine.
I think I'm back on my feet. I'm a little confused about where things are right now, actually. Like in relation to each other.
Okay, so y'all just like came from over here, sort of. Over like in this direction. And now you find yourself in this clearing with this ring of stones that are arranged in a kind of like weirdly particular sort of way, and they're all very smooth and kind of vaguely sparkly.
All right, I'm gonna go over and investigate these rocks because they look real pretty, and that's a good thing. So I'm gonna reach out and try to touch one, I think.
Okay. It is pretty cool to the touch. And let's see what happens when you touch it.
I think it starts glowing and there's like a bright light that comes out of it, similar to the one from before.
Maybe that could be fine. Yeah, so like I think that like it's very subtle though. It looks like it's those like kind of cloudily translucent aquarium rocks, sort of like it looks like something like that for a moment, with like kind of a glow inside of it, but then that quickly subsides.
All right, I think I pull back my hand because I wasn't really expecting that.
Yeah. What is Phoenix? What are you doing?
Yeah. So if I see the little glow, I just kind of like I like fully like trip over my little legs, pulling the stone out of my pocket and like setting it on the thing because I'm like, oh, light. Put the rock on the light. I put the rock on the light.
Yeah. So, what happens as a result of this? Here's another instance of something where I'm not really sure like what that does, but it feels like it should do something, or if nothing else, like suggest something, right? So, I think that, and like I don't really want to like call another like combat encounter or something like that, but I think that you hear like a buzzing sound, and the trees kind of shudder to the side, from this direction, and yeah, I think like through the trees you see this glowing cyclopean red eye, and this like massive silhouetted quadrupedal creature just there looking at y'all.
Yeah.
And she's here.
She's
here.
If I can still be, what I would immediately do is I would like literally fumble over this thing with the rock, just like towards.
So just like walk and be like, I have rock for you.
I have rock.
Look at
and I'm mostly
rock.
I'm looking at the light, but I am kind of trying to talk because I do realize this is like this whole ass like I don't know her. She seems pretty, I don't know, but I have this rock, and I guess I'm just like, hey, I don't know if you know about this rock, but it does stuff with light, and you have light and night. Dox Rindoxia. Nice to meet you.
And I think, that sounds like a roll, but
that sounds like a great idea that I have.
I think Val said that she wanted to try something.
Yeah, Val, do something to make the situation less bad.
Wait, what's happening to the rocks right now? You put a rock on a thing.
I put a rock on this thing because Maury touched the thing and it was glowing, so I put the rock on it, and then when I did that, it made this cool lady who glows, has an eye glow, big eye glow. It made her come out, and I was just like, oh, what is up? And so now I'm holding the rock up, and I'm like, what's up? Basically, is what happened. That's where we're at.
I put my hands on my blade, but I don't quite take it out. I slowly approach, and
and there's like just a throbbing like sound, you know.
Sick.
Like
I kind of do a milady move.
Oh no.
I do a greeting. I do a curtsy.
Cool.
Yeah.
We come from the outside. We only want to search for some missing people.
You can have the rock if you need it back. Sorry.
Roll quiet, I think.
Quiet.
So,
oh yeah, because we're trying to calm someone down. Yeah, let's okay.
I didn't put any rules in this for like helping, but I think that if you want to take help from a friend, you can, and that'll add an extra die, but it'll open up whoever to the bad consequences if this goes bad.
I mean, you don't have to, but it kind of sounds like, wait, what is it? Cerulean? Kind of sounds like
this is a bit of a Rebecca move. I'm sorry, but I do.
It is.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You gotta help me out of my antics.
There's a bit more.
And you don't have to, but
What was that?
I was just gonna say that I do think that this is kind of daring, but
Yeah, I could say that. I could see a case for this being daring. Okay.
It's pretty bold.
So I'll call that a 3d6. You're trying to roll high. So what?
Yeah.
5 or 6.
I need
right?
a 6 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
Let's go.
Sorry, Val.
That's 6 and 2 2s.
It could have been worse.
It could have been worse. So I think what happens here is she like grumbles, like visibly goes like brr, 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 and walks over, touches like what would be like her snout sort of, but it's just this like big glowing red orb kind of, with remember like two antlers made of bone coming out of like the structure that's housing it. Get off my lawn, Hankin says. Yeah, basically, and like touches it to like the stone, one of the stones in the circle, which also kind of like glows in resonance, and I think they all kind of like start kind of like yeah, glowing like sort of in sequence. So like I don't know if y'all have seen like Euclidean step sequencers, but like that's sort of what I'm imagining, where like there's like a rhythm to it, but it's hard to like hard to predict, you know. And then I think she like walks over to you, Docs, and like eats the eye, and like you don't really know how.
The eye?
Yeah.
Eats it?
Or, like,
Yeah. She
Mm.
just
I
like
just imagine like how.
Is this a date? I think this is a date now.
Dinner.
my players always want to date the monsters. It's fine. It's fine.
I tried not to make another character that just likes cool buff ladies, but I want to date all the ladies.
Yeah.
Cool buff ladies,
Yeah.
soft cute ladies.
And yeah, like I think that she like I always do let them. Like, to be fair, like rarely am I like, no, you can't date this monster. The servitors in this particular scenario, like I would probably be like, no, it's just gonna try to kill you. Like it's just gonna try to kill you. But yeah, most like
Past that happens in a relationship.
yeah.
Healthy boundaries.
Okay, so what's
And
up?
yeah, I think that she like buzzes and walks away to her next one, and then back home. So I think that we're
That
gonna.
was nice to meet you. I live in that town. You can come meet me. I live there.
Man, Snapchat.
Call me on snap me. I'll drop you my Insta. Bye. Great.
Maybe we could find out about the. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
No, what were you saying?
The missing children, the ones who are missing from the village. Maybe we can communicate with.
Oh, you want me to ask this lady? You want me to
I
ask
think
the lady about the kids? Hey, lady.
Hey,
The kids.
Are you just like following her at this point?
Yes. I'm just kind of like, I'm not even trying. I'm not even like intentionally doing it. I'm just kind of like stumbling, like, oh, where are you? Hey, lady.
Lady, where are you going? Anyways, we're almost
Where'd
at
you going?
roughly
You know
almost at
about the
time. So
kids?
what was that?
No.
What did you say?
I just said, do you know about the kids? Talk
So
later, I
yeah,
guess.
like she does is the thing.
Okay.
She's keeping them safe
Oh,
right
decent.
now. So like
Lady
if
of
we're
many
gonna
mysteries.
if we had time to like go further with this, I would say that like that might be like an interesting thread to tug on.
Yeah, yeah, but we don't have time.
But we don't have time. Yeah, we're almost at time now. But anyways, that's like sort of the process by which I run games. I hope that was helpful. You could take this scenario, mess with it, run it for your own systems. I try to make it as system agnostic as possible. So like I didn't specify like health for any of the monsters or anything like that, or like just said like they can't beat most of these things, but the C or the the Z's, I think the ones that you just fought totally are beatable. The Z, R, and M are the 3 different levels of servitor. I think you could transpose it pretty okay to whatever system you want to. So yeah, try it out. Tell me how it works for you, if you want, and yeah, I hope that this was helpful. Anyways, that's basically what I have to say about GMing. And yeah, like, thanks. And if you want me to GM a game for you, I totally will GM for tips. Follow me on Twitter, at Synodai. If you have any thoughts about running games or whatever, feel free to hit me up or whatever.
I recommend them. They're a pretty good person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're so good.
They're the best.
They just like fully imagined an underground cathedral unplanned on like a few days ago.
Yeah.
Too,
Before
so that was pretty
we leave, I do want to like tell that story.
Tell the tale.
The other day, I literally just like whole cloth improvised this boss battle that I like. Everyone who's played in it so far has told me that like it was really good, which is cool. Where like my thought process for it was like I had this place where I was like, okay, I need to put something different here because I've had them doing like tunnel stuff for a bit and like some like weird runic nonsense. And we got to this point where like I was like, okay, let's just put like a weird church in this underground sewer system, for reasons that would make sense, if you were in this game. But like it's just kind of there and empty. What purpose could it serve? Oh, I guess it could be like something that's like, what if it was the inverse of like sort of Greco-Roman amphitheaters where they like they were designed in a way that like you could hear people speaking wherever you were. Like, what if this is a weird acoustic space where you could hear whatever was happening inside of the structure that it was in, or something like that, inside of this underground labyrinth. And like the people who were living here could use that as like a way of like making sure intruders were not around or whatever. But then I was like, oh, what if they could also use the inverse of that and like use it as a means of communication? So I put this dude there who I kind of described as like being dressed like a weird raver pope with like kind of like metal fingerless gloves on, and had him kind of like doing like Morse code signals on like one of the columns of this cathedral thing, because that seemed like a way that like you could send signals out, sort of. And Phoenix tried to engage with them and got noticed, and then it like became a boss battle where I was like, oh, if this dude is like somebody who's like really good at using acoustic signals to do stuff, like what if he could like weaponize that, So I kind of made this man like fight using the acoustic features of this space as like sonic weapons. And I thought it was really cool. And so yeah, like that's sort of like the thought process that I go through when I'm like building encounters and stuff like that. Even when I have to on the fly, it's like, oh, what would be different here? What would be interesting for this to do? What would how could we make this like texturally cool or whatever, and then just follow that thread for as far as it will go, and sometimes
you also like really well accommodated how like most of our characters aren't fighters in that game. Like I literally just talk Val's character like praise or whatever. Like Pepper has bombs, but like we don't. Only one of us is a fighter. You know.
Yeah. Chris punches.
Chris can punch.
Yeah,
I
Chris
can
punches.
spirits and research and eat candy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also almost scared us out. You almost fully scared us out of doing the end of the mission on the mission before that too.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Like that's something where it's like
You're like maybe we should just bail. This seems like a lot.
Yeah.
We should just go.
having your players just be like, I don't know if we should be here anymore is really fun, and like something where it's like, oh, like that's like to me that's fine, you know. Then we could like build something else about like what happens with the stuff that was behind the door that they were too scared to open or whatever. That was the cursor.
Narratively, we were all so like traumatized. Like you really had already gotten us to that point.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I hope that this was useful. Take care of yourselves.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.